Catto! Shadow! Emulator! Muffin! Welcome back to LEGO Wars in the final heat of Series 4. Last time out, we was an all BattleBots affair as Quantum dominated the heat and we were treated to the first sudden death melee to decide the remaining qualifiers. This week it's finally time for last year's runner-up Emulator to start their campaign after giant killing performances in the bracket last year almost took them to the title. They are joined by the 23rd seeds Kat Modia, who are out to finally break their streak of failing at the first hurdle of the bracket. Let's see who else will join them in this final lineup of the year.
First, from Columbus, Ohio, and seeded number 2, Emulator.
Sorry.
First, from Columbus, Ohio, and seeded number 2, Emulator.
Only a determined Wobber could stop Emulator in the bracket last year, but with a new reprofiled build they look good to go far once more.
From Didcot and seeded number 23, Kat Modia.
Anderson's Nemesis is back and bar new wheels, not much has changed in the off-season, so we'll see if the pink bot still has what it takes.
From Telford, Diabolical Toothpick.
The OG Crusher had an appalling main series campaign last year going pointless and needs to show tonight it still belongs in the arena.
From Brisbane, Australia, Muffin.
Muffin joins the series armed with some nasty looking crushing jaws, but their armour looks like it could be broken easily.
From Alcatraz, California, Project Shadow.
A late addition to the series after the withdrawal of Blip, Project Shadow has shown some promise in the recent Rookies Cup and could be a bludgeoning thorn in the side of the seeds. We'll kick off the last heat with the second seeds Emulator against the Rookies Project Shadows. Let's see the panels fly.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So, kicking off the final heat of the series, we have two very scary spinners, Emulator, seeded second for this Wars, and Project Shadow, newcomers to LEGO Wars, but a lot to be expected from them. They did come third, after all, in the Rookies Cup early this year. Emulator, meanwhile, despite being a rookie last time around, came second, and even took out then reigning champions Waddle D2 to get that far, so they've got some serious scalps under their own hood as well. Although this year they haven't performed as well as they would hope. They only made it to the round of 16 in International Championships early this year, but that just means they're going to be more aggressive and more deadly in this heat, I'm sure, and they've already done some damage to Project Shadow. Some of those side wings have come up. Oh, but look there! Project Shadow has done serious damage to Emulator's spinner. Now, will that be a major detail of this battle? I think so, because Emulator's spinner now is unbalanced, which means it's shaking and rattling around. That also means they're not going to be able to cause as much damage as they normally would with that flywheel of theirs. And Project Shadow, that angled flywheel is a very scary, very effective weapon. Oh, goodness me, they were nearly caught out by the pit there thanks to Emulator. The pit didn't open properly as it should do, but it is open enough to be considered a viable way of elimination. I'm almost certain of that. There's the screws as well that Project Shadow just moved away from. They're pushing Emulator back. Now, you'd think that Emulator, with those tracks, they're better pushing power, but they don't actually, believe it or not. They just slide around the arena a little bit, and it's the big chunky tyres like the ones that Project Shadow have that have the better pushing power. Although saying that, they have just been pushed backwards by Emulator there, and again, Emulator pushing back. They're going to have to try and do more than just push though, but what can they do? Their flywheel has been absolutely disintegrated so far thanks to Project Shadow. And Project Shadow so far, oh my goodness me, are by far on top, and they definitely are now. They've just taken off one of the tracks now of Emulator. Now, Emulator thankfully can still run with one track. Like many tracked robots in LEGO Wars, the cams do act as a second pair of wheels, but at what cost? Because as far as I'm concerned, that means that Project Shadow are currently winning on all three: control, aggression, and definitely weapon effectiveness. Emulator are going to have to really dig down deep here, because we could be seeing a huge upset here. The number 2 seeds, the second favourite robot to win this series of LEGO Wars, runners-up in the last war, are currently fighting for their life in their first fight of the series. They're going to have to really come back from this battle and work hard. I think it's a little bit too late for them to really bring it back now, although the pit is open right there. One good push could see them down, but they can't get a good push with one track. Project Shadow, a killer of legends potentially in LEGO Wars. Watch out for this machine later on in this series. It's going to go to the judges. We're in the final 7 seconds of the battle. Oh, is it? Or is it? Emulator on the verge of the pit, and they're down with 1 second to go. Project Shadow get the first 3-point victory of the heat. Colour me surprised and dumbfounded. I honestly thought Emulator were going to have no issues here against Project Shadow. Yes, it's a good machine, but early damage done there to the side panels of Project Shadow, and again there, I thought the wheels were next to go, but then off came that bit of flywheel, and after that it was all Project Shadow, causing damage to the tracks, outmaneuvering, outpushing, and out-aggressing, and out-controlling Emulator, and eventually summoning them to the pit of oblivion.
A buzzer beater to start the night as one mistake puts the second seeds on the back foot. Let's see if their fellow seeds Kato can start a little better against Muffin.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
The grand return of the annoying pink machine, whose name I can't pronounce properly. Kat Modia then with the big swinging axe, seeded number 23 for this series of LEGO Wars. It's their first time back actually, we haven't seen them at all this year. Muffin, meanwhile, they may be rookies, but we've seen them in 2 separate tournaments so far, the Rookies Cup and the International Championships, and they didn't do very well in either of them. So everything to play for here then. Oh, look, Kat Modia's lost the wheel! Now, could we see another surprise here? We've already seen Emulator lose earlier on. Are we about to see another seeding machine lose a battle in this heat? Both are starting with the pit buttons, and must be confident that they can pit the other. Muffin, I think, at the moment have the advantage, although they are right on the verge of the pit. And can Kato and Modia come back here and get a good victory?
6.
They can! Muffin down the pit, and Kato and Modia secure 3 points in the bag. Well, that was some high-octane energy, wasn't it? Very quick, very short, but also very, very sweet. Kato and Modia brought the axe down, but then lost a wheel. I thought that Muffin had them there, but then the pit was pressed, and eventually Muffin was sent down into the kennel from hell.
Shades of their Series 2 win over Scorpios as Kato puts the dog in the bin in under a minute to go top. Meanwhile, Emulator's been repaired and are ready to get their campaign back on track against Diabolical Toothpick.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Can Emulator make up for that earlier loss against Project Shadow? They are up against Diabolical Toothpick, a very experienced robot in LEGO Wars. Bags of experience have been with us since day one, practically. Although, being honest, they haven't been the most successful of robots. They lost in the first round of the All-Stars Championships earlier this year, and last series, they were the worst performing robot in their heat. And Block of Napalm was in that heat, just thought I'd mention that as well. Some damage has been done to the side though with Diabolical Toothpick there from Emulator, and Diabolical Toothpick reacting by pushing him towards the pit button. Hasn't quite gone down, now it finally does. Emulator getting away from there. Oh goodness me, we're nearly pitted there by Diabolical Toothpick. That would have been another huge upset victory. Off goes a piece of Diabolical Toothpick going flying out the arena there. Bits and pieces flying courtesy of that flywheel of Emulator, which has been fixed and fixed properly. Now Diabolical Toothpick trying to bring the claw down and stop the spinner. Interesting battle this one. Very tactical so far. No major kill shots have been dealt at the moment, and Emulator has not done the damage that we thought it would do this series of LEGO Wars. Last year, don't forget, it tore robots apart. It beat Waddle Dee, don't forget, absolutely killed it in the middle of the arena. Oh, serious damage done there to Diabolical Toothpick's weapon. The claw, almost like the module, I guess you could say, the thing that holds it in place has been split, and now it's just bouncing around like a bucking bronco. Fantastic stuff. And that will certainly get Emulator the much-needed points that it needs for a judge's victory here, if it does go to the judges. More pieces flying off of Diabolical Toothpick as this battle goes on, though. And at the moment, Emulator firmly in control of this fight, I would say, although a good bit of aggression and good pushing there by Diabolical Toothpick show they're not out of the running just yet. pushing Emulator towards the screws. How many robots are those screws ruined the chances of in this series of LEGO Wars? Don't forget they took out reigning champions Agarobot in the first heat of this series. Can they take out the number 2 seeds? The runners-up from the last wars, Emulator here. No, not by the evidence of that. Good push there by Emulator, but Diabolical Toothpick saw what was coming, got out of the way quickly. Good evasive driving there. Good battle this so far. Very, very close. I would say Emulator are on top just because of the weapon effectiveness alone. Aggression's a little bit even. Control, not too sure at the moment. Maybe Diabolical Toothpick, although Emulator have done some good evasive driving of their own as well. Look at the claw of Diabolical Toothpick. It's flailing around like one of the heads from Two-Headed Death Flamingo, for crying out loud. Emulator. Emulator doesn't really quite know what to do with it now at this point. I think it's done as much as it possibly can do to that claw, really, without completely pulling it out. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, but I don't think there's enough give at the moment. Not too sure. Diabolical Toothpick's weapon is still somehow working, though. Although I don't really see what it could do to Emulator at this point. It's been completely knackered at this point in this fight. And we are into the final 10 seconds. So unless something drastic happens here in this final 5 seconds, this is going to go to the judges. It wasn't a very decisive victory for either machine. And it'll be interesting to see what way the judges go. I think I know who's won it, but it wasn't the most convincing of victories. For me, it has to be Emulator just due to the weapon effectiveness alone. Also, the aggression and control from the machine were on point throughout. But you have to admit, it wasn't the most convincing of wins, was it? Yes, bits and pieces went flying. Yes, damage was done. But I think a lot of us were expecting a little bit more from the number 2 seeds, including the team themselves. Emulator, I think, have got it, but not in a decisive victory as we thought it would be.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Emulator. Maybe not the KO they wanted, but 2 points still brings the second seeds back in the thick of things in a close lineup tonight. Next into the arena is fellow 2-pointers Project Shadow against Muffin.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Muffin will be desperate for some points here. They currently sit with 0 on the board. Good driving though, getting around the side of Project Shadow and now trying to get a nom in on that tyre. I don't think we've ever seen Muffin's weapon do anything before. Do my eyes deceive me? It's actually getting an attack in. Oh! But it was all for naught with one shot from that spinner of Project Shadow. Goodness me! Is there any armour left? I've heard of skinning the cat, but this is ridiculous. Muffin absolutely obliterated in one shot. That is going to be one of the best snipe shots we've ever seen in LEGO Wars history. And it was all going so well for Muffin at first. Look at the weapon. The weapon's been completely destroyed. There's no armour. The tail's still intact at least. I'll give it... Oh, wait, no, even that's been hit now. Wonderful, fantastic. I'll tell you what, though, it's still going. Oh, goodness me, it's still going. I thought for a minute that they were just going to throw themselves down the pit to get it over and done with, but no, they are still indeed trying to get this fight going and trying to continue the battle on. More pieces going flying there. I'm surprised there's still bits that can go flying at this rate. And fair play to Muffin here. They haven't... Look at the weapon. They haven't slowed down. They haven't stayed back. And they're still trying their hardest. And at the end of the day... That's all you can really do in this game, isn't it? The fact that they're still going for it. I mean, it's earned my respect, I'll give him that much. And look at this, not only that, but they're outmaneuvering Project Shadow. They're chasing Project Shadow down, they're showing more aggression. Could we still see a surprise win by the judges at this rate? Because at this point, I mean, the weapon effect is obviously Project Shadow's, but I'll tell you what, it's not been the most aggressive or the most controlled of robots, has it? We could still see a surprise here. I will admit I am dramatising this more than I need to, but still, it's good fun. Bits of this chassis now getting torn away. Oh, look at it. The chassis is warped. There's bits and pieces that are separated. It's split in several bits. One of the receivers has been knocked loose as well. And it's still somehow fully mobile. We haven't seen a dog defy death like this since Block Dougal. I guess it's a thing in this series, I guess. Dogs just never die. I knew cats had 9 lives, but this is ridiculous. Project Shadow, for me, surely the winner here. But they aren't able to finish Muffin off. Not yet, anyway. And Muffin is still coming in on the attack and is still being aggressive. The pit yawns open. Oh, Muffin very nearly went down there. But Project Shadow weren't able to capitalise on that. And now Muffin coming in for another attack is going to go to the judges somehow. Fair play and huge respect for Muffin for lasting as long as it has here. That's absolutely fantastic stuff.
6.
But surely there's only one winner at the end of that one. What a fight though, great stuff. Highly entertaining. It all started so well for Muffin. They got a good bite in on the tyre of Project Shadow, and then boom, one hit later, it was completely disintegrated. Armour gone, weapon gone, chassis disintegrated. And being honest, their hopes and dreams are gone as well. Yes, they did come back with some good control and some good aggression throughout, but overall, the weapon effectiveness alone from Project Shadow should secure it a victory here. But fair play to Muffin for lasting as long as it did. Great stuff.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Project Shadow. Despite exploding the poor doggo in 20 seconds, Muffin clung on to the end and confirms that every robot this series scores a point, and I think that is a good testament to the growing quality of the competitors in this series. Well done everyone. Now let's get back to the thick of things as Kato faces Toothpick.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Battle of the Veterans, this one. Kat Modia and Diabolical Toothpick have been around for absolutely ages. Like I said, Diabolical Toothpick have been around since day one pretty much. So it'll be interesting to see who wins this clash. Kat Modia with the big boggly eyes and the big swinging axe. Good driving there by them to get in behind Diabolical Toothpick and pin it against the screws. And now bringing that axe down for a good couple of swings. Off comes the back panel, but that won't worry. That almost always happens in Kato fights. In fact, it didn't in the last fight, which kind of surprised me. Speaking of the last fight, I was very impressed by Kat Modia. They were able to overcome the odds after losing a wheel and still get a 3-point victory. Diabolical Toothpick may have lost their last fight, but it was by the judges, and it was after taking some serious punishment from Emulator. They still managed to survive the damage done to it and last for the judges. So, no disgrace there either. But Kat Modia for me at the moment are on top. They've definitely been the more aggressive of these two machines. They've definitely had the more effective weapon, and they've been the more controlled. Diabolical Toothpick will need to get that front wedge underneath and bring that claw down. Going for the pit button there, it did not lower on that occasion. Kat Modia chasing them down, certainly being the more aggressive machine here. Once again, Diabolical Toothpick going towards the pit button. Once again, no, it failed on that occasion. This time it does go down, no, and tell you what, Kat Modia, good evasive driving there and good control to get away from the pit when it came down. Now bringing that axe down again, and once again, Diabolical Toothpick leaving itself open for an attack from behind there by Kat Modia, and they're bringing that swinging axe down. It may not look like the most couth of weapons, but it is quick and it does hit hard. And it could definitely be something to watch out for in this heat of LEGO Wars, especially with Emulator not performing as well as we thought it would this early in the heat anyway. Another good shot there, now coming in on the pistons of that Crusher. I guess want to knock them out of play, try and take up the Crusher of Diabolical Toothpick. Diabolical Toothpick are suffering with problems that they have suffered with for quite a lot of their career here. Lack of control and then a lack of ability to really outmaneuver their opponent. There's a reason it hasn't performed as well as other mainstays like Panic Attack and Waddle Dee in the past. Can they finally overcome those demons in this heat? Or will they not? Goodness me, how on earth did they survive that? I thought Kat Modia had them down the pit there, and the fact that they didn't go down the pit, that was fantastic control from Diabolical Toothpick. Fair play, well done to them for that. Good push there once again by Kat Modia, slamming them into the sidewall and bringing the axe down as well. Good tactical fight this one so far. I would say that Kat Modia are currently on top. Diabolical Toothpick really need to try and dig down deeper here, otherwise they could be losing another judge's decision. If it goes to the judges, down comes the axe once again on those pistons. I'm not too sure how much damage has been done to the claw of Diabolical Toothpick. Was it fixed completely since the last fight against Emulator? I'm not too sure. It doesn't look to be working at the moment. And Kat Modia are certainly on top for me now. They've been swinging their axe non-stop since the fight started. They've got in many, many good hits with it. And as this fight comes to an end,
6.
they are by far the more aggressive, the more controlled, and they by far had the more effective weapon, in my opinion. Oh, late hit there. Kat Modia are impressing me this year. They've always been a robot that's flattered to deceive. They've never really made it to the high stakes, but they've always given it a good go. And we could finally be seeing them in their breakout year here, because they were very aggressive throughout that fight. They were relentless, in fact, with Diabolical Toothpick, and there was nothing Diabolical Toothpick could really do to them. For me, it's a clear-cut victory for the pink machine with the horrible name.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Kat Modia. A very tense fight, but Kato edges it on aggression to go top at half time. Let's go down to the bottom of the table now as the Crushers, Toothpick and Muffin face off.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So which of these machines have the better crushing weapon, and whose bark will be bigger than their bite? Well, Muffin's face has already fallen off, so that's a good start for them, I guess. They've been completely rebuilt since their last fight with Project Shadow after being absolutely splattered in one hit, don't forget. That means Diabolical Toothpick will think they might have an easier draw here against Muffin. One of the side panels has started flexing. Down comes the Crusher on Diabolical Toothpick, so the claw is working there. And they've done some damage there, actually, to the side of Muffin as well, which I think is one of the first times I've ever seen that claw do any damage. The pit button has been pressed, but Diabolical Toothpick's wheel right on the edge of the pit. Right on the edge of doom and gloom. Why is Muffin not coming in to try and take advantage of this situation? Because I think Diabolical Toothpick are done. Boy, no, they're not. They get away. Good driving. Where on earth was Muffin joining up? They had an easy win on their hands there. That was terrible driving there from the Muffin team. Off comes the side panel completely now. Good aggression though by Muffin, getting into the side of Diabolical Toothpick and pushing it into the arena's side wall. Diabolical Toothpick's wheels spinning, but they can't seem to get away from it. I think they're stuck on bits of Muffin. They are. The pit is right there, and I think Muffin was about to push them down the pit there. They were lucky to get away when they did. But where was Muffin earlier when Diabolical Toothpick was basically flirting with danger? What are they doing? Were Muffin trying to lose that fight or something? I genuinely don't understand what on earth they were doing. Diabolical Toothpick spent an eternity stuck on the edge of the pit, and they didn't take advantage of it. And then, just to add insult to injury, after losing their side panel, after once again having Diabolical Toothpick near the pit and in their control, they go and throw themselves down it instead. Idiots.
Muffin's skipped nap catches up on her as she reverses down the pit and out of the competition as Toothpick makes it a three-way tie at the top. The tie is only short-lived though as Kato and Shadow fight next to go clear.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Now, this is an interesting battle because not only are these two the most impressive robots as far as points are concerned in this heat, but in my opinion the most impressive robots as far as actual fighting is concerned as well. Both these machines have been very, very good thus far. They've had some impressive victories and some impressive moments. Two very different styles of robot though. You've got the serious, the dark, the edgy and the destructive Project Shadow. And you've got the bright, the fun, the silly, but they're just as entertaining and just as respectable. Kat Modia, seeded 23 for this series, so they will be the favourites to win this one against Project Shadow, a newcomer to LEGO Wars. Third places in the Rookies Cup earlier this year. Don't forget they lost to Smoo in the semi-finals of that, bringing that axe down. They also beat the much fancied Whiplash in the third place playoff in that special. But look there at the pushing power of Kat Modia, again getting that front wedge underneath the back of their opponent and then bringing the axe down. And I tell you what, they may have lost some panels and some bits of LEGO around the arena, but they've certainly been aggressive and they've certainly been controlled. Although they seem to be struggling to move at the moment. What's happened here to Kat Modia? Have the gears burnt out? No, they are okay. They're not moving as smoothly or as fluidly as they were earlier though, but there's a good push from the pink machine, the number 23 seats, and backing towards the pit release button and failing to open the pit. And finally does so. Fantastic, great stuff. I think the axe is stopping them from getting the pit down there, you know, actually. Bit of a weapon design flaw, I suppose you could say. It stops you from being able to utilise the arena hazard, but hey, who's counting? Project Shadow now, right on the verge of the pit, and I tell you what, I thought Kat Modia had them down there. That's the second time Kat Modia has had her opponent close to the pit, but not been able to quite capitalise on it. Is that a little bit of an issue with the control of the machine, do we think? Kat Modia now going to the other side of the arena, trying to get around the side once again of Project Shadow and trying to avoid that very scary spinner of theirs, which hasn't done as much damage as we thought it might do in this battle. Is it just me, or is Kat Modia a lot more sturdy than it used to be? I'm not too sure what changes have been made to that robot since last time around, but they've been very, very impressive in this heat. I'll be honest, I've never really been much into Kat Modia. I've never really seen it as a major player in LEGO Wars, but if they keep performing as well as they are at this moment, they might be with a chance of rectifying that, but their face has been completely annihilated now by the spinner of Project Shadow, and all of a sudden Project Shadow is back into this fight. If this goes to the judges, which I think it might do, it will be very, very close. Both robots have had effective weaponry. They've both been aggressive. They've both been controlled throughout. Not too sure what way it's going to swing. If it does go to the judges, the pit is wide open. Are we going to see a late pitting again like we did earlier in this heat? There are exactly 6 seconds left in this battle. I don't think we're going to. Kat Modia certainly finishing on the aggressive. That was a really good, close fight. Tough one for the judges. Very, very good fight, that one. Not too sure what way this one's going to go. Both machines got good attacks in throughout. Kat Modia certainly, for me, started the better of the two machines. They were very aggressive, very controlled. The axe was effective as well. But the spinner of Project Shadow cannot be forgotten about. And the damage it was capable of doing to Kat Modia later on in the fight, as well as the aggression and the control that they showed later on, cannot be ignored either. Very, very tough one for the judges, this one. And I'm not too sure what way it's going to go.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Kat Modia. Despite losing their face late on, Kato's done enough for the win to confirm their spot in the bracket. Emulator meanwhile are stuck down in 4th and needs a win over their fellow seeds in the next fight to save themselves from an early shower.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Tell you what, it's weird to see the two seeds clashing this early on. We have Kat Modia seeded 23rd, Emulator seeded 2nd. Off comes the back panel of Kat Modia. Now, Kat Modia currently have 7 points on the board. They're almost guaranteed a place in the bracket. Emulator, not so much, though. Only 2 points thus far. Oh, but they're still doing some serious damage there, and they need to do damage. They need a good victory here. More damage being done. They need a KO victory just to stay in this thing, I think, because with only 2 points on the board, they could very well be saying goodbye to their campaign early, and that'll be a huge surprise. Last year's runners-up going out in the heat. Kat Modia, like I said, they've pretty much guaranteed their place in the bracket, but a victory here will pretty much make that a confirmation. They're not quite out of the woods just yet, but they're pretty much there. And I've said pretty much far too much now. I'm sorry. I apologise. Emulator trying to bring that spinner in and take out the wheels, maybe trying to take out the side panels of Kat Modia, the number 23 seeds. A very, very surprising performance in this heat from them, I must admit. I wouldn't have expected them to be top of the leaderboard at this stage of the heat when it first started. But I guess goes to show anything can happen in the LEGO Wars arena. Emulator trying desperately to cause more damage to the sides of Kat Modia, but it just doesn't seem to be able to. And Kat Modia now out pushing them and bringing the weapon down, so they're not out of this fight just yet. They still have some fight left in them. They have some control and aggression, and they do have a weapon that still is willing to come in and get in those axe shots, and that's exactly what they're doing now. Maybe trying to do some damage to the weapon belt on Emulator. They're quite well hidden, but a good snipe shot from that axe could see Emulator without its spinning flywheel. Maybe they could bring it down on the tracks, perhaps. Down goes the pit, courtesy of Kat Modia. And with their pushing power, we could well see Emulator getting shoved down the pit. What on earth are they doing? Oh, Kat Modia have driven backwards onto the verge of doom and gloom. And they've pretty much given Emulator a free win here, I think. The number 2 seeds get a 3-point victory by the skin of its teeth there. And it was much needed indeed. I say by the skin of its teeth, Emulator were, in my opinion, on top in that one, just courtesy of the damage that was done earlier on by that flywheel of theirs. But Kat Modia were coming back. They showed good control and aggression, and towards the end of the fight, they were certainly even in the odds with that axe. And then they went and threw it away by driving themselves onto the edge of the pit, essentially giving Emulator a KO victory. Muppets.
Kato's strong run in the heats ends with signal malfunctions, but gifts Emulator a lifeline as they move ahead of Toothpick heading into their final fight against already out Muffin.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Emulator desperately want a victory here, especially a KO victory. Muffin, we know their campaign is over and done for this series of LEGO Wars. They will not make enough points to make it through the bracket, even if they win this fight. Emulator doing damage straight away to Muffin, turning off one of the side. Look at that! The entire left-hand side of the machine has been completely disintegrated, courtesy of that spinning flywheel of Emulator. This is the kind of damage you've been expecting from the number 2 seeds throughout, and it's finally happening. Off comes the rest of the bodywork now as well. And it's looking like that 3-point victory is in very, very near sight for Emulator. If they get those 3 points, they will finish this heat on 8 points, and they will be the top of the leaderboard, which will mean they will sail through to the bracket after a very shaky start to their campaign this time around. Good push there, though, by Muffin, not giving up just yet, pushing Emulator back towards the arena side wall. backing away now, and I think, yes, look, the body panels of Muffin are hindering Emulator's drive. So anything can happen still at this early stage in the battle. Muffin in behind Emulator, pushing up towards the pit. They're down. I don't believe it. Muffin get 3 points. That was an upset to end all upsets. Muffin getting the consolation points. 3 points out of nowhere despite the damage taken early on. Courtesy of that flywheel of Emulator. Emulator, by the end of this fight, still with just 5. They're going to be watching eagerly for the next fight for sure. Muffin, their campaign may be over, but what a last-minute victory.
A huge upset as a panelless Muffin shoves the second seeds down the pit, throwing them back into danger heading into a final fight. Thanks to Kato's earlier error, Shadow can take overall glory tonight if they beat Toothpick, while the veteran Crusher needs a win to stay in the competition. So let's find out who's making it through.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So it's old versus new, veterans versus the newcomers. It's Diabolical Toothpick versus Project Shadow. Project Shadow taking a while to start up there, but finally gets going. Good drive there into the side of Diabolical Toothpick, and then slamming into the side. Well, that wasn't very good driving from them. Maybe showing a little bit of their inexperience, perhaps. Driving around the side again, though, of Diabolical Toothpick. Both these machines will be desperate for a win here as Diabolical Toothpick brings that Crusher in, down onto the spinner of Project Shadow and stops it. Well, that was good driving and good tactics there by the Diabolical Toothpick team, showing their experience a little bit there. Be interesting to see who comes forward in this battle, the old guard or the new blood, I guess you could say. And Emulator, our number 2, seems to be watching this battle very, very close as the pit is released, courtesy of Project Shadow pushing Diabolical Toothpick onto it. Why will they be watching? Because if Diabolical Toothpick loses this battle via KO, they will have to go through a tie-break situation with them. So all Diabolical Toothpick have to do here is lose via a judge's decision, and they will have enough points to at least give themselves a chance at a redemption fight. Meanwhile, Project Shadow will want a KO win here to get themselves to the top of the leaderboard, although Project Shadow could also be upset here by Diabolical Toothpick, and Diabolical Toothpick themselves could also make themselves the top dog of this heat if they win via a KO victory, as they sort of try and get round the back there of Project Shadow. What on earth has happened here to Project Shadow? Is it me or have they completely stopped? There's no moving in those wheels, is there? What's happened here? They're being counted out. Oh, what a shame. This battle was just starting to heat up. And as quickly as it started to get going, it ended out of nowhere. Diabolical Toothpick win via KO, and that is a huge shame for Project Shadow. Not quite sure what happened there. I will admit they were a little bit slow to start Project Shadow. Did they have some reception problems perhaps? I'm not too sure. Diabolical Toothpick used good tactics throughout that fight though. Kept that spinner at bay. And whilst they were outmaneuvered and outpushed a few times, they were able to keep their distance, get the claw in, and eventually outlast, I guess you could say, Project Shadow. That's such a shame for them. And that means that our number 2 seeds Emulator are out this year.
With fresh speed from Shadow comes fresh reliability demons as they conk out, leaving Diabolical Toothpick of all robots to win the heat. But in more pressing news, Emulator are out. With Toothpick and Kato locking in the final confirmed spots in the bracket though, it's time to turn our attention to the third place finishers. Over the last 2 months we've seen several machines do their best to make the bracket outright, but were left in limbo about their survival. We've ranked the third place finishers from 25th to 36th, so without further ado let's see how they'll line up. As we can see, Atlas, Waddledee, Chompy and the defending champs Agrawobber have done enough to make the bracket on merit, leaving us with a mix of rookies and externals to decide the final 4. We've drawn the remaining 8 at random, so let's see the draw. First up, it's the fragile drum spinner Megalodon against the front hinge Firestorm, followed by an all-rookie affair between Nova and Switchback. Hypershock and Block Lobster are up next to ensure a third Woodrow robot in the bracket before we end with tonight's third placer Project Shadow against the fast-starting Mingo. Let's get to it.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So the first of our 4 play-in battles at the end of the series to decide who will be taking up the last 4 places in the bracket, and immediately damage caused there by the drum of Megalodon to the side panel of Firestorm. Now they had trouble with that drum throughout their heat, don't forget, it kept coming loose and stopping after a few hits, and I think it's already started to come loose. Look already, yes it has, and now it is completely fallen out of the weapon motor system. So that means that Megalodon are once again without a weapon, and that means that Firestorm could use their wedge to their advantage like that. Look, get underneath their opponent and potentially outdrive them and get a win. They've got a huge chance here. Remember, one of these robots must lose. At the end of this battle, one of these machines will be out of the tournament and the other one will be into the bracket. It will be a low placing in the bracket, but it'll be a placing in the bracket nonetheless. We've seen many surprises happen in the top 32. Don't forget, oh goodness me, Megalodon were very lucky that the pit took a while to drop there. There was about a 2-second delay on the pit after the button was pressed, and they were very lucky it went down when it did, because they were very close to being sucked into the deep abyss themselves. They've lost their tail at some point in this fight. I didn't notice that happening early on. Good driving there once again by Firestorm now, pinning Megalodon into the side wall. The Flipper and Firestorm hasn't been the most effective weapons throughout this series of LEGO Wars, and being honest, the robot hasn't been the most, I'd say it's been a bit of a disappointment, let's be honest now. It hasn't really performed as well as we thought it would, considering it's a Robot Wars legend, but still, there is plenty of time for them to make up for that if they can get a good victory here against Megalodon. Getting underneath them, weren't able to flip them on that occasion. Good aggression and driving there by Megalodon to outmaneuver them and then come in on a side attack. So they know that their drum's finished, but they're still using good aggression. Maybe hoping to win this one on a judge's decision, being pushed towards the screws though, but again using good evasive driving, good pushing now as well. Out pushing Firestorm. Pushing wasn't Firestorm's main strength in Robot Wars, and it's not in LEGO Wars either by the looks of things. Good work there though by Firestorm, getting the wedge underneath and prying the wheels of Megalodon off the floor so they can't gain any purchase. Wasn't really able to capitalise on that though, and the judges will have taken note. If it does go to the judges, the pit is yawning open though, and if Firestorm can get underneath Megalodon, they could have the shark down the pit of oblivion, but they haven't really managed to capitalise on any of the times they've got underneath them so far. Very tight battle this one at the moment. It's hard to really gauge who's had the most effective weapon. Yes, Megalodon did that damage early on, but then it broke so quickly afterwards, but Firestorm's flipper hasn't really done anything at all. Who's been the more aggressive? Who's been the more controlled of these two? Very, very tentative and tight battle this one. Oh, goodness me. I thought Firestorm was going to have Megalodon down the pit there. But Megalodon again using good control and good evasive driving to avoid the pit of oblivion. And Firestorm now against the arena side wall. Has it stopped? Has it broken down? No, there is movement just, I think. I think it's stuck underneath Megalodon's tail. It is going to survive to a judge's decision. But this last-minute issue for Firestorm will certainly count against it as the judges are looking on. Cease will be called
6.
now. Tight fight that one. Not too sure what way it's going to go. Let's take a look at the highlight and see if we can decipher it. Good start to the play-ins there, and it just shows what the play-ins mean to these machines and these teams that are competing. Very, very close, tough-fought battle. Megalodon lucky to avoid the pit there, look. The drum was effective at first, but then it came loose. After that, it became much more Firestorm's battle. Megalodon also going to go down the pit there as well. That'll count against it. But towards the second half of the battle, Megalodon did start bringing it back, using good control and aggression and good evasive driving, and Firestorm were definitely struggling towards the end. Who's won this one? I honestly haven't a clue.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Megalodon. A frenetic if slightly drunken encounter to start the play-ins as Megalodon edges the decision to move on. Next up it's Switchback against Nova.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Oh, very quick start there from Nova to try to box rush Switchback. Switchback though saw it coming, we're able to outmaneuver Nova now, bringing in that egg beater spinner of theirs. Remember, it's on a lifting arm as well. Very unique weapon. Didn't really see much of it though in its heat, it must be said. There, meanwhile, Nova lifting up that flipper of theirs, and that was terrible control by Nova, lifting the flipper up and allowing themselves to be vulnerable to an attack there from the spinner of Switchback. Remember, that same issue that they had in the heat actually cost them their fight against Door M, don't forget. So it's a shame that they didn't really learn from that mistake in the heat. In this battle, Switchback will be looking to hopefully cause some serious damage. Again, Nova bringing the flipper up when they had no reason to, and again leaving themselves open for an attack like that from Switchback. They really must control their flipper better than this if they hope to make an impact in LEGO Wars. And again, the flipper, being honest, wasn't the most powerful in the heats, let's be real now. It failed to flip a single robot. Switchback now getting its flipper underneath Nova and pushing them back. Again, Nova raising their flipper and driving towards Switchback. That is terrible control again. And again, they've left themselves open for an attack. Nova barely moving now. The pit button pressed. And Nova very lucky that the pit is not going down. Or is it? Or is it? Or is it? No. How on earth are Nova this lucky? They should be out. They're gone. They're finished. They're done for as far as I'm concerned. Switchback have been the more aggressive throughout. They seem to have fixed the issue that they had in the heat as well. Their wheels kept falling off, don't forget.
Lads, the pit's
Nova have
broken,
stopped
stop
moving.
hitting it.
They're being counted out. The pit is not lowering as it should, but it doesn't matter. Nova have finished here, and it's all thanks to their own terrible control, really. A last burst of energy there, but it wasn't enough.
6.
Cease called, and Switchback with an impressive win. Talk about giving your opponent an easy victory. Nova, what were you doing, guys? Just constantly raising the flipper up, allowing Switchback to get to the vulnerable exposed internals, and it was only a matter of time until some serious internal damage was done, and Switchback was happy enough to expose that weakness of theirs. Nova out of this series, and Switchback are through to the bracket, unsurprisingly.
The thermal demons from the heat are back in anger once more for Nova as they shoot out of the competition. Next up, it's an old retcon fight between Block Lobster and Hypershock.
Robot ears, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Should be a good clash this. Two very legendary machines, Hypershock and Block Lobster. Good attack there by Hypershock, immediately taking off one of Block Lobster's claws. Yes, Block Lobster, no stranger to taking damage. They got splattered by both 23 Red and Ganymede in their heat, so they're used to taking that kind of damage and that kind of punishment. Good driving there by Block Lobster, and again, trying to bring that flipper in. Will we finally see them flip a robot up and over here against Hypershock, or will we see Hypershock finally come out of this slump and make it to the bracket? They've never made the bracket before in LEGO Wars, don't forget. They finally managed to get themselves into a predicament where they might get there after improving their robots so much. Yes, there are still a few teething issues, like the control there, for example, and the fact that it doesn't turn very well, but they've got their weapon working properly now, and they've managed to get the reliability down a lot better. But Block Lobster is also a very reliable machine with a very effective design. Can they too also make it to the bracket again? They made it to the round of 32 last time around, lost there to Panic Attack. They've lost their eyes, so they can't see where they're going now. They assure me that they can still drive while blind. I'm not too sure what's happened to Hypershock. One of the wheels has come off. How on earth did that happen? It's all happening out there in the LEGO Wars arena. This is a terrific fight. Robot Wars versus BattleBots. And this is what we were expecting. Damage, carnage, and just a little bit of silly humour as well, and that's what we have to see in LEGO Wars. Hypershock, though, not letting it get them down. They've still got those front two wheels, don't forget. That is the I guess you could say the advantage of having a four-wheel drive machine. If one of your wheels craps out on you, don't worry, you've still got three more to do the work and carry the heavy lifting. Speaking of heavy lifting, goodness me, Block Lobster were close to flipping over Hypershock there. Hypershock, though, able to stay on their wheels. What's happened to Block Lobster? Oh, it's okay. For a minute there, I thought they were done for. Although the flipper is raised and has stayed raised, has the flipper broke on Block Lobster? No, it has lowered down now, but it took a while. Are they having radio reception problems out there in the arena? Another good flick there from Block Lobster, but they weren't able to capitalise on it. They weren't able to flick over the BattleBots Legends. Now pushing Hypershock back into the corner. Good fight, this. Very back and forth. Both machines getting in several good attacks. I'd say Hypershock has had the most effective weapon so far. Control has to be Block Lobster's due to Hypershock, well, driving all over the place really and driving around aimlessly. Who has been the more aggressive though? Who has been on the attack more? Who has been bringing the fight to their opponent more than anyone else? Look at the damage to the back of Hypershock. I don't understand how that happened. That wheel has finally now been completely removed, courtesy of that little nudge there from Block Lobster as they get around. And that will mean that Hypershock is more exposed at the rear, and Block Lobster trying to take advantage of it. Hypershock are desperate to get through to the bracket here after years and years of failures. But as this battle progresses, Block Lobster certainly being the more aggressive. Have they done enough in the early stages? We're going to find out soon enough, because it is going to go to the judges in 5 seconds. What a formidable battle this was between two very, very good robots who are desperate for that last place in the bracket. Brilliant stuff. Whew, get my breath back. That was a fantastic battle, a truly great clash between two machines that have always been expected to do well and have always flattered to deceive. For me, Hypershock certainly started the stronger of the two despite its control problems, causing serious damage throughout, but once that wheel came off, Block Lobster certainly started coming back strongly. They nearly flipped them over there, and as far as I'm concerned, they were the more aggressive and more controlled towards the end of the battle, but honestly, this could go either way, and I don't think anyone would be upset.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Block Lobster. Block Lobster makes it 2 for 2 in surviving the play-ins as we say goodbye to the improved Hypershock for this year. Now just one spot remains in the bracket, so let's see if it's tonight's third place finisher Project Shadow or Mingo continuing their streak of making the bracket.
Robot ears, stand by. 3, 2, 1. activate.
This should have the makings of a good battle, to be honest. Two very different robots, both very quick, very agile movers, very zany as well. But one is dark and edgy, the other is flamboyant and pink. Damage already done to the front of Mingo, courtesy of the spinner of Project Shadow. Project Shadow, of course, will be looking to make it through to the bracket here in their rookie series, their rookie year in LEGO Wars, which will be a huge accomplishment for the newcomers. Remember, they came third in the Rookies Championship earlier this year as well. Mingo, more and more pieces going flying off as this battle continues. Bits and pieces flying everywhere, courtesy of the spinner of Project Shadow, who, in my opinion, were a bit unlucky to not make it through to the bracket via their heats, but an unfortunate KO loss to Diabolical Toothpick saw them having to go through the planes, proves that anything can happen in LEGO Wars. And speaking of anything happening, I think it's happened again. They stopped moving against Diabolical Toothpick, and they've stopped moving here against Mingo. Mingo getting the aggression points in now, and definitely getting the control points as well. Oh, what a shame this is for Project Shadow. They're being counted out, and their run for LEGO Wars Series 4 will end here, and Mingo will make it through to the bracket stages for a third straight series in LEGO Wars. What an unfortunate loss for Project Shadow there. Mingo absolutely torn to ribbons, really, but surviving enough to get through. Cease called, and Mingo are in the bracket. Project Shadow are going to have to go back to the drawing board and really figure out these control issues that they have. What a shame. They were by far on top in that fight, in my opinion. They were outmoving Mingo. They were doing all the damage, getting all the major hits in. There was definitely more pink than there was black scattered across the arena floor by the end. Something came flying off there. I wonder if that was key in Project Shadow dying at random. What a shame for them. But Mingo survive and go through.
A bizarre breakdown at the worst possible time for Project Shadow sent their campaign down the drain as Mingo somehow continues their perfect bracket reaching record to confirm the bracket lineup. It's been a phenomenal night to end the heats as Diabolical Toothpick avenged their terrible performance last year to top the final heat, but the big talking point remains Emulator's shock exit from the series at the hands of Muffin. That's all from us tonight, but join us next time when we begin the round of 32. For now though, I've been your host David of Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one. Ready for the doors there. Let's watch that one back, because I feel like you're not going to break it.
I've had another idea. I can't do the other idea.
Were you going to drive down the pit?
No, I was going to hit the button.
It's not even on.
Yeah, that sounds like...
Yeah.
Oh, he's giving me the eye.
But Kato is always giving people the eye, alright? Stop breaking the robot.